Radio IKIM Inspirasi Infora Islami. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good afternoon to the dear listeners of IKIM FM. Welcome to another episode of Shaping Tomorrow. I'm your host Batrisyia Afrina, and for today listeners, our topic is revival of Islamic civilization in 21st century Uzbekistan, and to talk about it I have Dr. Muhammad Syafiq Borhannuddin. He's the fellow at the Center for Economics and Social Studies, IKIM. Assalamualaikum, Doctor.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And how are you, Doctor?
I'm good, thank you.
Alhamdulillah. And dear listeners, in the previous episode of Shaping Tomorrow, Dr. Syafiq shared with us about his recent trip to Uzbekistan. And in that episode, he discussed lessons from Uzbekistan's Islamic legacy. And one thing that still resonates from the previous episode is Dr. Syafiq's account of the first ruler of the Timurid dynasty, Timur or Tamerlane. And this week, listeners, we will continue exploring the Islamic legacy in the country, focusing on how it is being revived. So, Dr. Syafiq, what will you be sharing with us today?
Yes, Batrisyia. So, inshallah, I will be sharing more in terms of what the people of Uzbekistan, including their leaders, are trying to do to revive their rich legacy and civilization that they once had in the past in the context of today, 21st century. So, shall I continue, Batrisyia, with my slides as well here?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay, so for those of you who are tuning in through our social media, we do have some video that comes along with this audio recording on the radio.
Yes.
As I said in the previous episode of this sharing on our recent trip to Uzbekistan, this was part of our sort of collaboration with our partners in Uzbekistan. So basically, a few years ago, IKIM is privileged to be met with the advisor to the president of Uzbekistan, who was in Kuala Lumpur, and he graciously met our former chairman, Tun Ahmad Sarji, to develop a memorandum of understanding between IKIM and 3 Islamic institutions in Uzbekistan, and we have signed that MOU. And our recent trip, IKIM's delegation trip to Uzbekistan recently, is in the context of that MOU. So we took the opportunity to learn as much as we can, not only in terms of what they had in the past in their history, but also what they are doing today. Because very interestingly, they have done many great things that I think deserves for us to learn from. One of the things that was intriguing for me is that because for almost 70 years, Uzbekistan, including some other Central Asian countries, they were under the Soviet rule, the Russian Soviet rule, right? So one of these sort of leading icons or figures in that era was Karl Marx. So at one time in Tashkent, where we were in the central part of Tashkent, they had the statue of Karl Marx in Tashkent during the Soviet rule. So because he's such a powerful ideological figure for the Soviet communist movement, right? So, but then with the independence of Uzbekistan in 1991, the leadership of Uzbekistan, the then first president of Uzbekistan, Mr. Islam Karimov, decided to get rid or remove that Marx statue and replace it with a figure that is more identified with the Muslims in Central Asia, which is Amir Timur. So I think that is a very smart and interesting move by the Uzbek leadership, because I think what they want to show is you're moving away from that socialist communist recent past and go back to the figure and a civilization that is much longer before the Soviet rule, which is represented in the leadership of Amir Timur. Basically, he contributed to a great Islamic civilization legacy in Uzbekistan, as we shared in the previous episode. And then upon the independence of Uzbekistan, there are many initiatives that they have done, but we were not able to learn as many things because we were only there for 1 week, uh, maybe 3-4 days in Tashkent, and the remainder of the days in Samarkand. We didn't get to go to any other place as well. So, but within those short trip, and based on my research, subsequently, I found that the International Islamic Academy of Uzbekistan, one of our MOU partners, they were created or were sort of played a key role in the education of Muslims in Tashkent, thanks to the leadership or the political leadership of Uzbekistan upon the independence in the 90s. So, International Islamic Academy of Uzbekistan, they are under the Committee of Religious Affairs on the Cabinet of Ministers of Uzbekistan right now, as well as there is another high Islamic authority called the Board of Muslims of Uzbekistan, and they offer bachelor's degree and master's degree in not only in the Islamic fields of knowledge, Islamic disciplines, but also in other fardu kifayah or secular fields like international relations, languages of other worlds, on tourism as well as literature. And this Islamic Academy is, I think, it shows how they want to sort of train their future generations, because soon this Islamic Academy will be moving to a bigger premise and a bigger project, which I will share shortly. And then another thing that I got to know, I think there were many things that the first president of Uzbekistan did, Mr. Islam Karimov, but I at this point I was not able to find too much information. So maybe next time we can learn some more and share some more. But one of the interesting things that Islam Karimov did was in 2001, it was him who rediscovered the tomb, the grave of Abu Mansur al-Maturidi. I mentioned about this figure in the previous episode. Basically, al-Maturidi is a significant and a giant, basically, in the Muslim world, the entire Muslim world, because of his contributions to Islamic theology, to the discipline of Usuluddin or Aqidah. So basically, he wrote important books clarifying what is the Muslims' viewpoint of Aqidah from the standpoint of Ahli Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So his contribution is so immense. But during the Soviet period, his tomb or his grave is almost forgotten. It's almost lost. But President Islam Karimov, during his leadership, it was rediscovered, and he instructed that during the 1225th anniversary since Maturidi's passing, the mausoleum should be created and beautified with a beautiful complex so that people can visit and pay respect to this great giant, great scholar, great alim who lived in Samarkand. And then another thing that the current leadership of the people of Uzbekistan is doing to revive their Islamic civilization is the Imam Bukhari complex. Imam Bukhari is that prominent scholar who compiled hadith. He was not only a scholar of hadith, he was a scholar of many fields of knowledge, but he's most known, most renowned for his books on hadith, right? Whenever we hear a hadith being mentioned, sometimes or many times it's referred to the compilation of Imam al-Bukhari. So he's a man originally from present-day Uzbekistan, and whom he passed away in Samarkand, not in Bukhara. Bukhara is where he was born. That's why his name is al-Bukhari, Imam Bukhari. So his grave is in Samarkand. But again, during the Soviet rule, it's almost lost and forgotten, because it's like when we were able to go there, when we went there, it's like very far away from the city center of Samarkand. So it's almost like the rural areas. So for a long time, even the leadership of the Uzbek forgot where it was. So it was abandoned, basically. But during the 1225th anniversary of Imam Bukhari, upon the decision of the government of Uzbekistan, a new complex was built to preserve the memory and for the community, Muslim community, to continue to pay respect. So the picture on the right here, if you're watching on a video, is when it was completed in 1998. The older picture at the bottom there is actually an interesting event because during the Soviet era at one time, President Sukarno of Indonesia wanted to
Mhm.
visit the makam, the tomb of Imam Bukhari. But the Soviet people themselves didn't know during the Soviet era, didn't know where it
Uh-huh.
was. So they quickly did the research, quickly went back to this area and make sure that the place is good enough to be visited by this head of state, President Sukarno of Indonesia.
Mhm.
so so towards the end of the Soviet rule, I suppose it was eventually rediscovered. But by the time of President Islam Karimov, in 1998, they make sure that there's a very respectful place that
Mhm.
is dedicated to this tomb to the memory of Imam Bukhari.
Mhm.
And it did not stop there because the current president of Uzbekistan, President Shaukat Mirziyoyev, who's been the president for the last 6 years only, he continues these efforts of the leadership of Uzbekistan, or the previous leadership of Uzbekistan, by expanding the entire complex to a much bigger scale, so
Mhm.
that probably thousands of people can go there in comfort. So I will show you what the scale of the project right now that they're trying to do. But I want to share this very interesting statement by President Shaukat. Why is it they are taking so much effort to preserve this these tombs and these areas where the tomb is located of the scholars?
Mhm.
Because he said the goal of our efforts in this direction is to express through science or through knowledge our commitment to Islam and respect for our scholars. It is, and he says it is our great duty to be worthy of ancestors. So this, Patricia, is a very rare thing to hear from a Muslim leader in
Yes.
this day of age to say such a thing, because
Mhm.
it's not so much concerned about how much money the country can make or how
Yes.
much sort of physical development the country can make, but he's very concerned about being a worthy generation of their
Mhm.
great ancestors, the likes of Imam Bukhari, Al Maturidi, and all the other great scholars. So he's doing that out of sheer adab, out of sheer
Mhm.
respect for the earlier scholars, because they know for them to be truly great, to be successful in this world, in their nation,
Mhm.
for them it's about building reviving that civilization that they once had, because for them that Islamic civilization or that civilization is what will really make them develop, not
Mhm.
merely economic development per se, right? So this is a very interesting statement from President Shaukat.
Currently, when we talk about how we could develop a country, we will look at it in terms of the future and also the present. However, not many people look at it in terms of in the past, where Islamic
Yes.
civilization can offer an alternative solution to the problem that we have right now.
Spot on, Patricia, because these people, these very intelligent Muslims in Uzbekistan, and also some other part of the Muslim world, they're doing that. Like places in Turkey, they're doing similar projects, but not many,
Mhm.
I think, in the Muslim world who are able to do this because for various reasons, right? But Allah
Yes.
has blessed the people, the land of Uzbekistan, to be able to have the strength and the energy and the resources to do such a thing. So I think it's very commendable
Mm.
for the rest of the Muslim world. As you said, they do not look at the scholars of the past as irrelevant, as if they have nothing to offer, because they are
Yes.
still a source of inspiration and a source of blessing. We cannot disrespect them, right? Because there's a reason Allah have given us such figures, given us so much learning, understanding about religion and civilization through the. So we can. It's only proper. It's the right adab for Muslims to do such a thing. So this is the expanded complex that they are still working on, but actually it's closed for visitors. But we were given a special privilege by virtue of our relationship with our partners in Uzbekistan to
Mhm.
visit the ongoing construction site. So as you can see there, on the picture on the left, there's some trees there in the middle of a like construction site, right? That's
Mhm.
because that is said to be trees already there for hundreds of years. So out of
Mhm.
respect for the environment, they don't want to simply destroy everything as they do this expansion and construction, right? Because
Mhm.
maybe it was there since the time of Imam Bukhari or something, but because I mean, this is part of the adab of the Muslim with regards to environment, right? You don't simply destroy everything when you want to develop or you want to build something. I mean, make
Mhm.
sure, especially when they are old trees, you preserve it. I mean, this is has always been the practice of the Muslims. So it's very heartening for us to see that they are practicing that as well. Mm. And but there once, if you can see, there's a smaller tomb inside this picture behind that trees. That is where the tomb of Imam, or the Makam, the grave of Imam Bukhari, which they continue to preserve. And like on the right here is just showing you a sample of the wooden carving that they are trying to build around the mosque. See how intricate and beautiful it is. You know
Yes.
how tall it is. You know, and it's made of,
Yes.
yeah, made of wood. This is one of their expertise. They have wood carvers. They can
Mhm.
carve beautiful artworks on the wood, right? So
Mhm.
wonderful thing. This is part of our Islamic civilization in Uzbekistan. And then as I did more research into why is it, what they're trying to achieve, basically, this current leadership of Uzbekistan. So it turns out that this president, he's saying that we are carrying out fundamental transformations in the field of science and culture, which are aimed at forming the foundation of a new era of the Renaissance. So what they understand by Renaissance is not in the Western sense, that period several hundred years ago in the West, where they get rid of religion, but for the Uzbeks for the leadership of Uzbekistan in Uzbekistan right now, they understand Renaissance as reviving the religion or Islamic civilization, as well as the great cultures and knowledge that they have inherited from the previous centuries. So it's very different from how the West understands it, in the sense where they are in the West, when they speak of Renaissance, it's about moving away from religion, right?
Mhm.
More a secularized viewpoint of science and advancements and so on. But for them, they want to like create a new historic era where people, it's like another era of golden age of Muslims. That's what they're aiming at, right?
Mhm.
So he said, the president Shaukat said, in regard, we are interested in further strengthening partnerships with the world scientific and cultural community, such prominent representatives as you. So he said this in one of the conferences where he launched. And then one of the biggest project to revive Islamic civilization is actually this. This is the biggest Islamic civilization center in the whole of Central Asia, to our knowledge. Costs them more than USD 100 million US dollars, Patricia.
100 million.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're
It's
getting the
very
best
beautiful.
experts, the best artists, the best wood carvers, best designers to build this center in Tashkent. It's called the
Mhm.
Center for Islamic Civilization.
Center for
So
Islamic Civilization.
yes, so this is also IKIM's MOU partner. Uh,
Mhm.
we have signed a memorandum of agreement for the last few years. Center of Islamic Civilization, Alhamdulillah, we are proud to say they are one of our partners. But we have but their building is not ready yet. They're still taking their
It's in
time
production.
to construct it, right? But
Uh-huh.
again, we were given the privilege, thanks to the leadership of Center of Islamic Civilization, which is working closely with the president. They give us the privilege to visit the construction site, which I will tell you more after this. But
Mhm.
the vision behind the Center of Islamic Civilization, again, is President Shaukat, the current president of Uzbekistan. He's saying we have a rich history, outstanding scientists among our ancestors. By scientists, they mean scholars, including scholars of religion and those scholars who were very outstanding in terms of the natural sciences as well.
Mhm.
So President Shavkat said we must deeply study this legacy, expose it to the people in Uzbekistan and to the world. We must make sure that a person visiting the center receives a complete picture of our history and gets spiritually enriched. This center will serve our people for centuries, and every one of its patterns, the building's designs, will become part of history. So look
Mhm.
at the vision, the kind of vision that this president has, to revive Islamic civilization in their part of the
Mhm.
world. He's talking about centuries, Patricia, building
Yes.
a building a complex like this, building a resource center like this that will last and have an effect on people for centuries. I don't
Mhm.
remember so many leaders who are talking like this, though. So it's
Yes.
very inspirational, right?
Mhm.
And he wants whoever visit the center when they went once it completed, maybe in few years time, it's almost
Mhm.
complete, we're told. uh, they will get an overall picture, overall sort of idea of
Mhm.
how Islamic civilization was in the past in terms of their knowledge, in terms of their
Mhm.
science, in terms of their culture, because inside they will tell you various aspects. I will show you. Yeah, this is some of the categories of how they will divide the sections in the center. It's not just a museum, although a large part of the center will be a museum.
Mhm.
There will be a great library. It will also be some of the colleges or institutes will be placed here. The Islamic
Mhm.
Academy of Tashkent, our partner as well in Tashkent, will also be placed here to conduct their masters and PhD programs, right? So that the best students of Uzbekistan will be studying there,
Mhm.
and then they will have many things. So it's like a one-stop resource center. It's not just a museum. I don't think we
It's
have.
like education center, doctor.
It's an educational center, and also it's a
Mhm.
reference point because they want to make sure that, I mean, they're talking about having a renaissance, right?
Yeah.
Creating a new historical, a new golden age, basically. So it will be
Mhm.
like a one point reference center where you need to know anything. If any government official wants to develop some policy, you need to
Can just
consult
go
that, for
to.
example, right? Yeah. So
Mhm.
it's a very unique concept, and I've not seen any Muslim world have done such a thing. So,
Yes.
and right, so
Mhm.
so these are some of the categories. As you can see, we'll talk about education, science, architecture, urban planning, arts and craft, traditions, and also what the future holds for the new Uzbekistan. So this is one picture in this slide that I'm showing on the video in terms of the construction site. There are many pictures we took, of course, but this is one of it. So the external building is almost
Mhm.
done. They are still refining it, doing a lot more beautiful calligraphies and all sorts of intricate designs, right? Um, uh, but again, when there's another statement by President Shaukat said, why, some people, when the reporters were interviewing him, because he's
Mhm.
monitoring the construction, he himself would go to the construction site, like the contractors, and try to make sure everything is in progress, right? So when the reporters asked him, what exactly is your vision here? Again, he said, we need to create a scientific environment and a knowledge environment worthy of our ancestors. Again, he's talking about being worthy. To be worthy of something means you need to show effort and put a lot of money, invest in it. So I think
Mhm.
he's really showing good leadership in the Muslim Ummah in terms of what we need to do to be a worthy recipient of the great wisdoms of our forefathers, the great knowledge, the great learnings of our, because that was one of the greatest periods, greatest achievements in world history. So I think he's trying to say, if we do this well, we will lead the world again. Because when the last time Muslims did this, they had their golden
Mhm.
age. They were the world leaders. They were the superpowers, basically. So
Mhm.
you see where he's trying to go. So I think this
Yes.
is why he's such an exemplary leader right now in Uzbekistan, President Shaukat. And he's also very spiritually conscious, right? The Uzbek leadership when they do this, like President Shaukat, when he wanted to start his project, he started in the month of Ramadan for the blessings of Ramadan, right? So he said it was not in vain that we came here today on Friday. On Friday, on top of that, right, in the holy month of Ramadan, what was conceived in this bright month comes true. In recent years, we have gone through several severe trials. However, the
Mhm.
work did not stop here. Why are we building this? To broaden our horizons, strengthen the pride of our people, show on material evidence what a great people we are. This center shall remain a symbol of the spiritual and educational power of our people. Look at the kind of language and inspirational speech that he's giving here, right? So this is
Mhm.
one, yeah. Uh, that's him with one of the beautiful doors at the center of Islamic civilization, President
Mhm.
Shaukat.
The front door, is it?
Grand doors, yes, a very grand door. And then on top of that, it's not this president or the leadership, the government of Uzbekistan is not working alone. They also have wealthy businessmen to help them. So it shows that the elites among the Uzbeks, they are stepping up. They want to do more to revive Islamic civilization. And this Uzbek billionaire is among the major contributors to for that creation of that Center of Islamic Civilization in Tashkent. He's one of the biggest contributors. And not only he contributes money to build the building, but he also gives money. He also donates rare books worth US $8 million, which is not a lot actually, but it's a wonderful gesture. Maybe, right? It's a wonderful gesture because he 4,000 or almost 5,000 rare books, right? According to the director of the center, Mr. Shwazim, whom we have met, Mr. Shwazim Minovarov said the rare books that this Uzbek billionaire, his name is Alisher Usmanov, gave is books on the Orientalist and Islamic influence on Europe in Latin, English, French, and German languages dating from 13th century. And among the rare books, the most rare books that they have is the first Latin translation of Avicenna, or more known as Ibn Sina in the Muslim world, Canon of Medicine. So they're trying to acquire all the most rare and important books in world history, including those written by the West, in the West. Because at one time, the West, they are very interested by Islamic works, Islamic writings of the Muslim scholars. So they start to translate Muslim works into Latin, for instance. So this is a very rare book. If you have the Latin translation of Ibn Sina, wow, that's amazing, because that will teach future generation to show, wow, the works of our scholars was translated into Latin, the West, before, because that must be so. It means that it's a big deal. It's so important, and Muslim scholars were able to do that, to have that kind of influence across there. So it will inspire the younger generation in ways that you cannot imagine. This museum that they envision, on the pictures on the right there, it's not just like a static museum or boring where you just have books, old books placed in one corner, another corner, there are old books. No, this is an interactive museum. They will have the best
Interesting.
technology, digital features, and they have many things that they have planned to make sure that it's interesting for the younger generation as well. So it's an interactive museum, a very interactive space. This is the future of museum that they're trying to create here.
And I really like the approach, because usually when we talk about history, people will say that it's a boring subject. But then when you have
Yeah,
this kind of museum where it is interactive, with the not just showing pictures and also the artifact where you can see also some sort of activities can be done inside, it gives people more motivation
yeah,
uh, to to study about that.
exactly. Survival for the country and the future generation of the Muslim Ummah, because
Mm-hmm.
in many other Muslim worlds, because of many instability, war, they are not able to do this. So I think they're doing a
Mm-hmm.
huge gesture, huge contribution for the
Mm-hmm.
entire Muslim world. Very
Yeah.
important, I thought, Patricia. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and 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 I want to draw your attention to this billionaire as well, because it shows that governments alone is not enough. You need wealthy people to
Mm-hmm.
contribute to this kind of project. You
Mm-hmm.
you know the wealthy Muslims everywhere in the world, whatever wealth you have, I think should be a major on the high agenda of the Muslim world. If we really want to change the fortunes of the Muslim world, so that we are not passive consumers of other countries, whilst other civilizations who are not
Mm-hmm.
who may not be necessarily sympathetic to us, who may just want to control us. This is what is needed. You need big investments by people like this man, like Alisher Usmanov. And Alisher Usmanov is not only giving his money to this new center and to purchasing of books, but also giving a lot of money to renovate historic sites, as I mentioned in this the last point in this slide, in Bukhara,
Mm-hmm.
Samarkand, and Tashkent, which are centers of Islamic cultural heritage. So this man sees the importance of preserving these old buildings, old architectures, because this will show you that this Islamic civilization is a living civilization. It used to it changed the landscape even, to make it very very beautiful, very
Mm.
tranquil, very very different from today's chaotic environments in our cities. So President Shaukat also, I mean, he would do things like he would write a foreword to
Mm.
a book, a very important book in Muslim history by Abdurrahman Jami. Right, they have translated this into Uzbek, and the president would write a foreword, and he would give this book to other state leaders. So these are the
Mm.
kind of things I think you want to uh, even apply this in international diplomacy, in your cultural diplomacy, so that other people, other leaders, other countries will be inspired and want to be part of the journey too, right? So I think
Mhm.
this, yeah. So this is a wonderful thing, and the title of that book is Treasury of Love, right?
Treasure of love.
Love, yeah. So not only love between human beings, but divine love, love with God, love towards God, right? So this,
Mhm.
imagine the president of a country giving this kind of book to a state. So imagine what it will do to world peace, right? So maybe people will be
Yes.
less less sort of angry with us for whatever reason.
It highlights of the peace and love in
Yeah,
Islam, especially.
yeah, yeah. Okay, now there's another dimension that I want to share with our audience is that the Uzbek government and leadership is also paying a lot of attention to revive traditional handicraft and also the traditional artisans and people who can build beautiful handicraft because they had this tradition for centuries.
Mm.
And one of those interesting places that we visited and we discovered is this Suzuk Ota complex. Suzuk Ota basically is the name of a great master woodcarver and a great scholar also who lived in long time, like centuries ago. Now the government of Uzbekistan, they have in the center there in this picture is the grave, the tomb of that's the Suzu Ota figure, who was a woodcarver and a spiritual mentor for many people. Because in the past, when you talk about like a craft or handicraft or any kind of profession, they always have a sheikh, a spiritual sheikh, a spiritual master to guide
Mm.
them in that work. So because he's not disconnected between their spiritual life and their professional vocational life, right?
Mhm.
So the government of Uzbek have sort of created a whole complex of where there is not only a workshop where they can continue this craft, the people of craftsmanship can continue this craft, but they also created like shops where you can purchase these products, this craft,
Mm.
and there will be a museum, a library, like a citizens assembly where the local community can convene and have discussions or meetings. And also there is a cottage of where the artisans can live in that complex, right? So they
Mhm.
really honor people of this kind, in this kind of environment. And President Shaukat is saying that handicraft is an honest profession. Today, the biggest challenge facing us is creation of jobs as well, right? Just like in Malaysia, we will.
Yes.
But he said we will deliver the conditions for artisans, and they will support themselves and provide work to others. They will train disciples, and scores of young people will master the craft, set up their own business, and generate income. So this may look like a very pragmatic, a very worldly sort of initiative, but in reality, this is also a very civilizational initiative, right? Because
Mhm.
this is what has been part of the Islamic civilization kind of environment where you have it's like this kind of honest profession using your bare hands to build, to develop beautiful artwork and very practical tools as well. This is one example. This is not one picture of some of the younger students, craftsmen. They are building wooden sort of I- uh, 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 designs. I'm not sure what that one is exactly, but there are many things. I will show you more that they do
Mhm.
with. One of it, of course, is the rehal that we use for the Quran, but you
Mhm.
can also use this rehal for your just to put your books, or you can because the way they design the rehal is not like the one we have in Malaysia. It's very complex where you can uh, put it in different angles, and
Mhm.
like I bought one, and you can also put your iPad and your smartphones on it. So
Multi-purpose.
exactly, very multi-purpose tool. And then this
Mm-hmm.
smaller wooden thing that underneath the rehal. Do you know what it is, Patricia?
Um, I cannot figure out.
Okay, it's a pencil case.
Oh, it's the pencil case.
It's a pencil
Oh,
case, or you can put your pen, and you can put your, yeah, for
it
you
is made
can
of wood.
made of wood fully and beautiful. There's like beautiful carving, like a flower design inside there. Is very beautiful,
It is
fully.
very intricately designed.
Yeah, and they have been
Mm-hmm.
doing, and they've been using this kind of wood material, wood sort of devices for centuries in Islamic civilization, and it's still a beautiful and a relevant thing to own in
Mm-hmm.
our societies, isn't it? I mean, it's uh, either to for us to put the Quran, or in regards to the rehal, or and for this pencil case, rather than using plastic or like ugly things to keep our.
Yeah.
It's a very beautiful thing.
Yes,
It
yes.
shows how refined and civilized the Muslims are.
Mm-hmm.
The scholars have been using it. I know for because I went to Turkey, for example, they use similar sort of pen and pencil case as well to keep
Mm-hmm.
their tools, their writing tools.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the right, you can see these are the sort of the insides of a mosque, and it's very wood wood sort of centric in terms of how they put the barriers, the ceilings, and so on. So it's
Mm-hmm.
really beautiful, and so it gives people jobs as well as you beautify your environment. Yeah, and I think for tourists, even for us, when we went there, these are exactly the kind of things we want to buy to bring back. We don't want
Mm-hmm.
another just like random, just like common toys that we see even in our shopping malls, or we want to see this. And I think even the
Mm-hmm.
Westerners, people from other civilizations and cultures, would be very interested to purchase this. And I mean, these are the kind of things that I think really will attract the world to a country as well as to a particular civilization. You can see how beautiful, how refined, how cultured the people is by looking at this craftsmanship, right?
So, the preservation of their country's heritage is not only limited to certain knowledge, such as science and technology, but it also includes knowledge of arts. And from here, we can see that they even have a special center that focuses on this kind of effort. And listeners, if you are tuning via radio, you can watch our live stream on Facebook and YouTube to see all the pictures that we are discussing. And currently, we are looking at a picture that shows two young men making handicrafts, and this shows that the younger generation is also encouraged to get involved in this kind of preservation activities. They truly focus on appreciating and preserving their heritage, history, and culture. And it's very inspiring to witness the effort and resources devoted to commemorating their past and keeping it alive to this day. And this will ensure that their younger generation won't forget about the country's history. I would like to thank Dr. Shafiq for his insight on today's topic, revival of Islamic civilization in 21st century Uzbekistan, and we hope that today's discussion will be inspiring and also beneficial to those who are listening to us either through radio or even listening to us through social media, Facebook and YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah, and not only that, in the government of Uzbekistan now, they created a whole eternal city in Samarkand, like 11 hectares, kind of space, and they try to recreate how it was in ancient time Uzbekistan, where all the artisans, the cafes, and the environment, how it was like. So we were able to go there as well. But I don't have a very good picture of it because we were rushing and we didn't have much time. We wanted to go to so many places, but the president of Uzbekistan would bring like state leaders from other countries over here to show that we can still revive this, and it's very much part of our country right now. It's a beautiful complex, and they make the architecture like based on how it was in the past, even the buildings, and such a wonderful space. And yeah, maybe we will show more about this in our production, which we did, TV production. So as part of our trip to Uzbekistan, IKIM brought together along our TV production crew,
Mm-hmm.
and inshallah we hope to maybe release this production next year to a mainstream TV channel, if
Mhm.
not on TV IKIM's platform. Well, okay. That's okay. Maybe this is the last one before we end. But there's so many things, but this is the last one. And on top of that, I think this is done by the academics in Uzbekistan. They have created a world society for the study, preservation, and popularization of the cultural legacy of Uzbekistan. Right, and they have hundreds of academics who are involved in this. And what they do is, among others, is they publish beautiful books like this to sort of to compile and to put together all the most important cultural legacies, I suppose, including the craftsmanship that we saw earlier, into one book. See, I don't know how much
Even
this
the
cost.
cover itself is
Even the
already
cover is so
beautiful.
beautiful, Patricia. Oh my God. Right. So maybe we will try to secure one for IKIM if we are able to afford it, or if they were able
Mhm.
to get us. So such a wonderful thing to do.
Mhm.
Um, and this is a picture from Eternal City, which I just shared, and some of their I think some of their staff, they wear traditional clothes so that tourists
Mhm.
can see for themselves. The whole culture of Uzbekistan in one place, basically. This is what Eternal City is. So the food of the whole in various parts of Uzbekistan is different, but you can find it all in one place in this place in Samarkand called the Eternal City. So
International.
I would highly recommend this if you have extra time in your visit to
Mhm.
Samarkand.
So this is already built, the Eternal
Yes,
City.
this one is completed. This Eternal City is completed. Alhamdulillah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wonderful place.
It's a very beautiful place.
It's very beautiful.
And with that being said, Doctor, thank you for being with us in the studio. Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum